See, now you got a friend.
At least I got a friend.
What does that tell you?
I don't know, I'm not gonna ask. There we went.
All right, I'll call to order the Millersville Board of Commissioners regular meeting Tuesday, February 20, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. If everyone would please stand for the invocation and prayer. David? Mr. Lord?
Thank you, Lord. We just thank you for another day.
Yes.
We ask you to be with the leadership of this community tonight, for the decisions which were made, and we're thanking you in advance for things that are happening in our city. We thank you and praise you. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, item number 3 is public hearings. We have a couple of them. The first one is ordinance 17-688 to amend the 2017-18 fiscal year budget, provide for expenditures and revenue for contractual building official service. I'll now open the public hearing if anyone would like to speak. Hearing none, I'll now close the public hearing. The second one is ordinance 18-690 to amend the 2017-18 fiscal year budget to provide for expenditures and revenue for the multimodal project phase 1 design survey. Now open for public hearing. Seeing none, I'll close the public hearing. Item number 4, approval of minutes from January 23rd, 2018 regular commission meeting. I call for a motion.
Make a motion we approve the minutes of the regular scheduled meeting, January 23rd.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
I abstain.
Item number 5, approval of minutes from the February 5th, 2018 special commission meeting. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes from February 5th, 2018 special commission meeting.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 6, approval of minutes from the February 8, 2018 special commission meeting. Call for a motion.
Make a motion to approve the minutes February 8, 2018 special commission meeting.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Abstain.
Item number 7, approval of the January 2018 financial report. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve the January 2018 financial report.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 8, second reading of ordinance 17-688 to amend the 2017-18 fiscal year budget, ordinance 17-674, to provide for expenditures and revenues for contractual building official services. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve second reading of ordinance 17688.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, and this will be a roll call vote. I'll call for the vote. Commissioner Gregory.
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Doris.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 9, second reading of ordinance 18-690 to amend the 2017-2018 fiscal year budget, ordinance 17-674 to provide for expenditures and revenues for the multimodal project phase 1 design survey. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve second reading of ordinance 18-690.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote, and it's going to be a roll call vote. Commissioner Gregory.
Aye.
I vote aye. Commissioner Coleman.
Aye.
Commissioner Doris.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimous. Item number 10, first reading of ordinance 18-689 to amend the Code of Ordinance, Chapter 18, Buildings and Building Regulations, and Chapter 34, Fire Prevention and Protection to update the city's building codes. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve first reading of ordinance 18-689.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 11, first reading of ordinance 18-691 to rezone 7673, 7677, 7679, and 7683 South Swift Road, a single parcel, Robertson County map 126, parcel 055.00, from residential R3 to R5. Call for a motion.
I make a motion to approve first reading of ordinance 18-691.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
It's just to change the zoning of it, to put whatever size house on it.
It's to change the zoning so it can be subdivided to allow for 4 houses total. It has 1 now, but there are trailers on it currently that will be leaving.
And then the vacant lot, that's right beside the house.
No, there won't be a vacant lot.
So you're gonna take the vacant lot, 3 lots, and make 4 out of it,
No, sir. Right now, there's 1 lot with
a house on it.
1 house and 3 trailers. Actually, 2 trailers now. 1 has recently been removed. But there were 4 homes on a single parcel. So they're proposing to subdivide it. The planning commission already approved the subdivision, contingent upon the city commission approving the rezoning from the R3, which is generally 1-acre parcels, to the R5, which is the quarter-acre parcel, or 10,000 square foot parcels. And then they're going to, once the rezoning is complete, the subdivision will be executed and recorded, and they'll go ahead, they're already planning on pulling permits literally as soon as they record that plat. For 3
But you're saying where the house is at?
Pardon?
You saying where the house is at now?
The 1 house that is there will be on a single lot, and there'll be 3 more lots.
But all them other 3 lots up there, the 2 trailers or the 3 trailers there, they were all on one piece of property to begin
That
with?
is correct, yes, sir.
Okay.
And they probably were there before the city was incorporated.
Okay. That's all.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 12, approval of resolution 18-R-01 to adopt a fee schedule for various municipal services. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve resolution 18-R-01.
I'll second the motion, Mr. Mayor.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 13, approval of amendment to the TDOT agreement for the multimodal connectivity phase first project and allow the mayor to sign on behalf of the city. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we approve amendment to the TDOT agreement.
I'll second the motion.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That is unanimous. Item number 14, appoint interim city manager until city manager returns from leave of absence. Call for a motion.
Make a motion that we appoint interim city manager, and that will be Holly, should I say her name? Okay, Holly Murphy, until the city manager returns from the leave of absence.
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion?
We got a time when she might be back.
I think she's up to 5 weeks from her surgery is what I was the understanding that I had.
We give her 3 weeks vacation plus
We
2
did-
weeks.
No,
per month.
she had 3 weeks of vacation.
And so we give her 2 weeks extended offered vacation.
Yes, after she exhausts her vacation.
Right.
So if she comes back in 4 weeks, she will have used her vacation time and we will have allowed her another week.
But the 1 week is she's working at home, working on a grant that week.
Yes, the 2 weeks. yes.
Those 2 weeks. So it's not she's just at home that we've given her.
Yes.
She will be working. So we'll make sure we clarify that.
Yeah, the board decided to allow her to work from home for 2 weeks after the 3 weeks of vacation time.
Right, provided we have a doctor's statement and saying that she's
Yeah.
clear of all
Yeah, I remember
meds
that.
at that time.
All department head knows report to Holly during this time.
Yes. And per our personnel code, we are supposed to appoint an interim city manager in such cases. So after talking to Rob, he said it would be better if we just made it official at this meeting. Anybody have anything else? All right, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Item number 15, discussion related to town management. And I ask that that be put on. Over the past couple of weeks, there's been several different little issues that's come up in the city. And I've been trying to find ways that we can solve some of these. I got the personnel manual from the city of Portland, and I'm gonna ask that Holly provide everybody a copy of that so they can read it before the next work session, because it will be on the next work session. Portland's personnel manual covers some stuff that ours does not, and it words some stuff that is, that we've had trouble in the past defining. Such as, we've always had trouble defining what a salaried person is. Their definition of a salaried person is employees that are not exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act overtime requirements may be required to work more than 40 hours in a work week and are entitled to receive, no, that's not the one, exempt employees. All personnel defined as department heads in the city charter and any employee determined to be exempt from the Fair Labor Standards Act shall be paid on a salary basis. All exempt employees are expected to observe a normal 40-hour work week and to work any additional hours necessary to accomplish the responsibilities of their position. Exempt employees are required to complete time records which are maintained by the finance department and must be submitted during the payroll process. We've always had trouble defining what a salaried person is and how they should report the hours that they work. that's, to me, that's pretty cut and dry, that a salaried person is expected to work the normal work hours, and then if they have to work extra, whatever it takes to complete their normal job. Some of the other stuff that's in there is attendance and time calculation, how time is calculated and when somebody should be in City Hall and when they shouldn't. My opinion is, and this is from the city manager down, if the start time is, everybody should have a start time, whether it's 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock, or 9 o'clock, that person needs to be in the building. And if that means we need to go to a time clock for certain employees, then we need to go to a time clock. If that means we can do it by the department heads filling out time sheets, then whatever it takes. There are certain people in the building that have to attend meetings, and that's part of their normal job assignment. If their meeting is somewhere outside this city and it starts at 10 o'clock or after, they should be in this building at 9 o'clock, or at 8 o'clock, or at 7 o'clock, whatever their start time is. If they are expected to be at a meeting at 9 o'clock, then as far as I'm concerned, they should just go straight to the meeting. They shouldn't have to report to City Hall, because they would have to come in early in most cases to get here. But I do believe that whoever's going to meetings, whatever those meetings are, they still should be held accountable for the time that they're away. And the only way I know to do that is for them to submit the time or the minutes or whatever documentation it takes from these meetings to show when their meeting started and when their meeting ended. It's the only fair way I know. When people come into this building and work, and they're here for 8 hours or 12 hours or 10 hours, depending on which department they're in, they're expected to work and be here doing their job. I don't believe that any department head should be any less accountable for their time than what we ask the hourly employees to do. There are a lot of holes in the personnel manual that we currently have. There are some, we just passed job classifications that was supposed to outline every position in this city, a job description, and how they are to be hired. There's at least 4 positions, I believe, missing in the one we just passed. So I'm asking Holly to put all of this onto the work session. And I'm telling you, I've been reading these personnel manuals for the last 4 or 5 days. I've read 8 or 10 off the internet from other cities. I've read Portland's, I've read ours, I've read White House's. We just need to fill up a lot of the holes that are in the one that we currently have. And I'm not asking anybody to do anything that I wouldn't expect everybody in the business to do. So, like I said, I just wanted everybody to be aware of what was coming, because it takes a while to get through that thing, because they're long. And there's a lot of, there's just a lot of issues. There's a lot of things in this one that is not covered in the one that we currently have. I did have a question for Rob. Do you know who is covered by the personnel manual?
The employees.
all employees?
All employees that are addressed in there, who would you not address?
Well, I didn't know. There's been, I've talked to different people that say sometimes the city manager does not have to adhere to the personnel manual.
Well, you draw that to your satisfaction.
Okay, well, that was my next question.
That's your personnel manual, and you include anybody you want to include, you exclude anybody you want to exclude.
Is there anything that we can get out of bounds as a board by putting into the personnel manual?
Well, I'm sure there is, but,
Well, I'm talking about like, right now, and one reason you don't see I know we talked about the take-home vehicles for four people. And one reason that it's not on this agenda is, I think we have about 4 take-home policies right now. 4 different ones.
you need to work through those, put those on your work session.
And I've asked Holly to do that. Whatever take-home policy we end up needs to be clear, and we need to repeal or do away with all the ones that are floating around. I mean, it just depends on which one you happen to grab out of the drawer as to which one we go by.
Well, they're all dated, aren't they? Would be your current one.
We don't have anything that says that it would be the current one.
Well, the one that you guys adopted by resolution, that's why, in order to address the 4 individuals, and it was listed a little bit different than what you adopted in the resolution in 2015. So that original resolution would have to be rewritten. The exhibit attached to it addressing the other employees would have to be rewritten separate from the one you talked about at the work session, because you're talking about 2 different issues.
I'm talking about, all right, the last one we done was in 2015, you're saying?
You adopted, yes, a
Okay.
vehicle policy
Well,
by
that would be
resolution.
the one we'd have to go by. You can't go with the one that was adopted in 2010.
What about the one that we just talked about in the work session that was scheduled to be on this?
That hadn't got there yet. It hadn't got there yet.
Well, that's,
Only one we got right now is the one that was adopted in 2015.
I agree. That's-
Anything prior to that won't matter.
I'm not talking about anything prior. That's why I've asked Holly to put the one that was scheduled to be on this agenda back onto a work session. Because if we pass it, then we would have 2 take-home policies.
Now, if you pass the next one, it would eliminate the one prior to that.
No, it wouldn't, because it don't cover the same personnel. The first one covers the citywide fleet. This one only covers 4 people. It is specific to 4 people. The only thing I can say right now is anybody that's driving a take-home vehicle, adhere to the policy that is on file. Because that's the one that you're gonna be held to until we get it fixed. That would be my opinion.
Well, I mean, that's your policy.
Exactly.
What? It remains your, unless it's got a sunset provision in it that this ends on a certain day at a certain time and a certain year, it remains your policy until changed. You're free to change it every meeting if you want.
Exactly, and that's what I'm saying. But if we would have voted on the other one tonight, how would that affect the one we already have?
Depends on how it reads.
That's what I'm saying. It only addressed 4 people, 4 specific positions.
It would be confined to those 4 people.
But the other one was for all take-home vehicles.
Including the police.
Including them
And fire.
4.
It'd be a matter of matching them up to see if you're looking for contradictions.
Yes, it's full of them.
Yeah, and that's why we didn't, and I had emailed and talked to Rob about it. The changes are being made to the mileage, not from City Hall, it's now from the city limits for the police. it wasn't addressed as to whether you want to change all the other people to the same standards. And so everything, in my opinion, just needs to be redone.
Just needs to be clarified.
Right. And if there was no sense in trying to, I didn't have time to rewrite a resolution for this meeting. At first, I thought it was adopted by ordinance, so I researched the ordinance, found it was done by resolution, and then, so that's why on Thursday, I just had to stop, and I talked to Rob. I said, there's no way I can get it ready for this meeting. So it definitely has to be rewritten.
Well, you're gonna want to run it through the work session anyway, aren't you?
Well, the one had already been through the work session, but it needs to go back. They need to be tied together. We need to look at everything we've got and weed out what we don't need. Another question, and you may or may not know the answer. What is the difference between a personnel manual and SOPs? I believe the police department's currently working on their SOPs, standard operating procedures.
I think the standard operating procedures are the guidelines or criteria or rules within the department. Your personnel manual applies to every employee.
All right. Does the SOPs that the police department, the fire department, public works, whoever has them, do they need to be adopted within the personnel manual or as a attachment to the personnel manual for a specific department? Or is that something that the department comes up with its SOPs and the city manager signs off on?
Well, it depends on how specific you want to be in your personnel manual. But surely each department head or department will want to establish its own standing operating procedures to some degree without having to go through Congress to get there.
Right.
And you just decide where you're going to draw the line.
Well, I just wanted to make sure that I'm clear on what I'm reading, because I read through this, and the way I understood it is the personnel manual covers a broad spectrum of different things that has to do with the day-to-day operations of City Hall, conduct, and a whole list of stuff. The SOPs are direct operating procedures of a police department, a fire department, a public works, which would be, I'm assuming they will write them and they will get them blessed at the city manager's office. And then that is their internal procedures that they deal with. But in doing their SOPs, they still have to adhere to this.
They need to look at whatever personnel manager they're operating under to make sure there's not some glaring contradiction.
Well, an example would be if they're setting the SOPs, if they're writing their SOPs and they decide to put in there that an officer can drive his car back and forth home, they still have to adhere to whatever take-home policy is in our personnel manual.
Well, I don't care if it's in your personnel manual or not. Whatever take-home policy you have established by your vote is the law.
Well, and that's why I like I said, I've read about 8 or 10 of these, and this one, to my knowledge, covers more than any one I've seen. It's very black and white in most areas.
And it depends on how extensive you want your personnel policy to be. Yours may, if that's more detailed, you may want to follow that example, or something more or something less.
Well, it's very detailed, but it's very easy to read, and it's very easy to understand for me.
Each department has its own separate SOPs. Like the police department, that's separate SOP than what it would be for the public works. The standard operating procedures is just like if they have an accident, they have a certain operating procedures they have to go
No,
by.
That's in the personnel manual.
Whether you're gonna have everybody doing the same thing then.
No, having a wreck, if one of them wrecks their car.
No, I ain't
it's-
talking about wrecking their car. If someone has a wreck out here, and they investigate that wreck, and they're working that accident right there, then he has a standard operating procedure that he has to go by.
Yeah,
In order,
right
so
now.
they should be the one that writes theirs to where it has to be.
Well, I
Just
agree.
like Public Works, the same thing. If they go out there and have to pull a pump, then they look at standard operating procedures, okay, we take either the bucket truck out there or something, ever how they want to pull it with.
I
That's the
agree.
standard operating procedures.
I
It'd
agree
be,
with you
it'd be
100%.
for each area, the same as Holly's or Deborah in there.
But what I'm saying is, we don't currently have those.
I don't guess so, do we, Mark? I'm just asking Mark, I mean, I don't know.
Right, but we don't currently have them in place.
You don't have them in writing.
So
Okay.
that's all I'm saying is,
Yeah.
when they write their SOPs, they cannot conflict with this.
Correct.
Well, it shouldn't conflict with it,
Well, no.
because
what I'm
that's
saying.
doing their job. I mean, just like I said, if they investigate an accident, it's gotta do the standard operating procedures. That manual won't have anything to do with it.
Well, I think
But it
if
could
they
have.
violate their policy, then they have to have some form of, I don't know, punishment, suspension or whatever, and I don't know if it needs to coincide with this policy or if they have their own
Well,
in their policy.
this has a drug section in it,
Right.
which basically, if anybody that drives a city vehicle has a wreck,
I'm not talking about a
I
person
know,
driving
I know,
cigarette, I'm talking about
I know.
doing their
I know.
job.
if they're doing their job and they have a wreck, by this personnel manual, they have to go be drug tested in a certain amount of time. They cannot write an SOP that would say anything other than that. A standard Mark can't write a standard operating procedure that says if you have a wreck or if you dent the side of your car, depending on how bad it is, you may or may not have to go be drug tested. They can't do anything that would go outside this, is what I'm saying. Or was the question that I had.
But a standard operating procedures covers specific tasks that has to be done for this job. And I'll just use Mark because he's back there. If they have an accident, if they have a wreck somewhere and Mark sends his patrol out there to investigate it, he has to have a standard operating procedures
Well, I
in
know
order to go
that.
investigate that wreck.
That's not what I'm talking about. They would have procedures of what to do if they were involved in a wreck as well.
That's true.
Their procedures, their in-department procedures cannot conflict with what the citywide procedures are if you're involved in a
No,
wreck.
that's right, it should.
That's the question I was asking.
It shouldn't, because let's just say for argument, okay, they went to investigate a wreck, and they had a wreck themselves getting there. Then that would start another process.
All to be in compliance
Yeah,
with your rules.
Basically, what I'm asking, all other rules put in place by department heads, city manager, whatever, have to, at the end, be able to survive under this. Okay. That's the question.
Draft one of those to suit yourself, as long as it doesn't violate the law somewhere or not.
So are we gonna be doing SOPs and personnel?
No.
no,
No.
So I'm
department
asking
heads
a
will be
question,
doing
SOP
SOP.
done by department heads.
Yes.
So our concern is.
Our concern is the personnel manual.
Personnel manual.
David, I know you're familiar with SOPs, because we went by them for years over there, and if a task was to be done, if you didn't know how to do that task, you'd go and pull the SOP, and it would tell you how to do that task.
Yeah.
But the top of the line on ours over there, it always said one thing, adhere to all safety rules. And that'd be the same thing what Tim's kind of talking about right now. He still had to concur to all the, what's in the personnel manual. That's
Well,
basically the same thing.
And I think what he's just, is, in my opinion, what you're just trying to clarify is that a department head or the city manager cannot make a policy that goes against anything in this manual.
Yeah,
of
that
what we've
conflicts
adopted.
with that.
Period.
So that's where the SOP comes in.
Or-
You can't make an SOP goes against that.
It can,
Exactly.
period.
Okay.
That overrides all of them.
Or
But-
any other ordinance that you pass.
When they make an SOP, we don't have to fool with that as a commission, do we?
No.
So the city manager takes care of that for them?
Yes. That's my
Who is-
understanding.
But who, someone would
We
need
have to
to,
approve that.
I mean, I would think an attorney or someone has to look at an SOP to make sure it's legal and there's no.
Well, you can't really write an
something-
SOP till we get that right there, right?
Well, no, I'm talking about just SOPs. I mean, somewhere along the line, somebody has to review it.
Oh, I think it's,
To-
in my opinion, it's the job of the city manager to review it and make sure it does not conflict with this in any place. If he or she needed help from the legal department, then of course they would get involved. But as a board, I don't think we have to adopt the SOPs, just the personnel manual. Would you agree?
Absolutely.
But at our work session, I guess we'll hear grievances that were brought to you, and we'll hear what they are, whatever it is that brought this to your attention, that this personnel manual is either
Well, I think there's
correct
just
or out of
holes.
date.
I think there's holes in the one that we have now.
But the indicator I'm trying to get here is my thinking, in my opinion, did some employees mess up and bring this to your attention, is what I'm trying to say.
Nobody messed up.
Okay, well, I just
I
want
mean-
to clarify myself, but.
Anything that is wrong in this city, and that's the first thing I'd say, anything that is not right, going wrong, or any other thing, if any employee or department head or whatever brings it to our attention, there's never nothing wrong about that.
I understand.
That's what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I just want to eliminate the holes.
Okay.
We have had issues in the codes department for the last month or so that has made us look ridiculous as a city. And a lot of it has to do with what's in here. And we just need to get it fixed. I'm not gonna sit here and say that there's anybody to blame for anything. It's just we as a city need to sit down and get it fixed. If there are, I know for a fact there's certain things in our personnel policy now that we're not adhering to. And that is in conflict, is it not?
That's your guy.
So, that's what I'm saying. If there's something in there that is not right, then we need to fix it to make it right. Whatever that takes to make that happen, we need to make it right.
So we're gonna use,
I don't
Portland's
know.
or somebody else's, or just.
In my opinion, it is the best one I've read.
Okay.
Now, your opinion might be that, and it's real easy, you just get on the, you can get on the internet and type in City of White House Personnel Manual, and it'll pop up. Any city you want, just type in Personnel Manual, and you'll get them from Ohio to New York, and anywhere you want to go, big city, small city. I just believe we need one set of rules that everybody plays by. And also, my next question would be, inside the personnel manual, can we have attachments that, like a comprehensive pay plan that we adopted, can it be a part of our personnel manual? Or should it? Because it references it.
Well, it may reference it, but, and sure, I think you can include it in there, but that's such a comprehensive document itself that referencing it should suffice.
Okay.
Because you spend a lot of time coming up with that comprehensive pay plan and pass it. It doesn't make any difference if it's part of the personnel manual or not. It's what you have established.
So if we're talking about the comprehensive pay plan, you would just reference that inside this
I think you
manual?
certainly could. Once that pay plan is passed and adopted.
Would that be the same with job descriptions?
Yes, unless you want a personnel manual that big.
No, well, we just passed job description, I don't know
And
what else to call
they're
it.
both mentioned in our current personnel manual
Right.
already. It's already mentioned in there. It refers to the pay plan and the job descriptions.
But there are some-
Classification.
There are some,
Well, once you've adopted them, if that manual references them, then that applies.
well, I know for a fact there's 2 or 3 positions or 4 positions, I don't know what the exact number is, that are not referenced in our job description. And they all should be, any position that we have. And even in this personnel manual, it states that it is the duty of a department head to pass along to the management,
The personnel manual.
the job description, the job duties of any one person would be. So if you took Mark's department, it is his job to tell management what is expected of each one of the positions inside his department.
Correct, and that may need to come before you all to approve.
Oh, yeah, well, we've already approved it,
Yeah.
but it needs to be worked on.
And if there's some missing, just
Just to add
include them.
Okay.
Amend your policies to include whatever has not been addressed.
Okay. Well, that's all I've got, unless y'all got some questions.
No, good, thank you.
All right, item 16, citizens' comments. Anyone wish to speak? Nobody?
I do.
Go ahead.
Larry Petty, 105 Echo Lane. In y'all's, what you were just discussing, and in reference, I'm just using Mark as an example. If he had a wreck on company time, just a fender bender, nothing, would it, and in the manual, does it say he has to go get drug tested?
Yep.
Okay, now, if Amy bends over to pick up a pen on company time, she has an injury, does she have to go get drug tested?
Not necessarily.
What's the difference?
That would be
He
up to
has
the
go.
insurance, wouldn't it?
He has to go. What's the difference?
He damaged city property.
She damaged city time without getting hurt.
I don't think it's addressed in our policy, but if for work comp injuries, that is what we require.
Yeah, the
If
work
it's company
comp-
connected, if it's
Yeah,
on
if
company
it's a work
time,
comp
it's
injury.
company connected.
Well, it might be like my policy. I have a workman's comp policy
Yeah.
for my business. If I carry somebody to the hospital, my insurance provider requires that they be drug tested. Just short and simple. If they're gonna file a claim, they have to be drug tested.
But does our insurance,
I believe they leave it up to us, I'm not sure. On the injury, on an accident, yes,
Yeah.
but on an injury, and we have required on injuries that they do be tested.
Yeah, and, I don't know exactly what our personnel policy says about the drugs. I know what this one says.
well, I'm not saying just drugs, I mean, it might have been a happy birthday party. I'm not saying her either, I'm just.
Well, what I'm saying is about drug testing. This one states that anybody involved in an accident will be drug tested.
Well, it could be alcohol also, because they should test for both.
Well, that's what they're tested for, is alcohol and drugs. But it also says that there can be random drug testing,
Right.
just plucked out of a hat.
And they used to irritate me where I used to work, because they had to have, company aren't as large as we was, they'd only had to have 1/4 of the employees tested. And just so happened that all CDL drivers fit under that 1/4. So we were tested randomly every Friday, or, come down, and if you got hurt, you tested. But the people on the inside with the biggest drunks and the dope heads never was tested unless they were hurt. You see what I'm saying? That is so unfair.
It is.
I've done a little bit of work on that for school systems and for the Madison Suburban Utility District. And some of the law on that depends on whether or not it is job sensitive. Now, any of those guys back there enforcing the law, they're always going to be subject to maybe random drug testing. I know those that work for the utility district down there, when you're providing the public with consumable water, those employees out in the field are subject to random drug testing, and it's not regular under any circumstance. They never know when that's going to happen.
Yeah, I believe after reading Portland's is all of their city employees are subject to random drug tests.
Well, and that works sometimes. Sometimes it doesn't, because I tried a case in federal court where the Smith County Board of Education tried to establish random drug testing for all teachers, and the court did not grant that. It depends on the job.
Well, we were told on a job I had it, 2 tow motors just bumped, and that's it. They gonna get drug tested. And it's that simple, it was just, way it's put to us. And any accident, regardless, it didn't matter what it was, if they would walk across there and fell over that chair and they got hurt, and it was on the job, it went drug tested.
That the utility district policy outside of the random, all accidents, the employees involved in accidents are drug tested every time.
Don't get me wrong, I'm not taking up for the outside employees or trying to put down on the inside employees. That was never my intent. I was just, like you said, trying to say before this, if it's possible, if it fits one shoe, then the rest of the feet ought to fit that same shoe.
I believe that.
We have a random policy, we've just never.
Well, I believe
Never done it.
I believe our insurance company would probably, if it's due to work, I'd be surprised if they don't ask for a blood test. Most of it do.
The only thing that I can say on that there, Mayor, everybody here remembers a few years ago when I was fighting fire over here and fell and broke my arm. I was not drug tested. Just saying.
That could be handled different, I guess, as far as.
I mean, you're talking about the insurance company may mandate it. I was never drug tested.
Well, I know they do for me.
Our, as far as I know on the issue I talked about it, insurance never was brought up, it was in management that done that.
And I think it's.
Management
would be our
says that
policy.
if this side here happens, then that'll make you get drug tested, right there on the spot. There's no wait 30 minutes or whatever, it's right then. That's the only experience that I've had with it, and I just know what we were told.
Let me finish my explanation about those teachers, and it applies to every governmental entity. The question, what the board tried to do up there was random drug testing without reasonable suspicion. And depending on your job, it may require reasonable suspicion before you can subject an employee to drug testing. Folks working in dangerous positions or having to do with public safety and that sort of thing.
What about sensitive information?
Depends.
Social
Depends
security
on
numbers,
huh?
such as social security numbers and stuff like that.
You would probably have an uphill battle with trying to get them drug tested without having a reasonable suspicion.
If they fell across the desk or fell out on the floor, would that not be able to give reasonable suspicion?
Do they smell of alcohol, or do they have foggy eyes and slurred speech and that kind of stuff? It depends on what was their job in the beginning. Maybe yes, maybe no. And in a lot of positions, particularly clerk type positions, you're going to have a hard time justifying that, I think, without reasonable suspicion. If you got a reasonable suspicion, well, you've got three, right?
Let me ask you another one, and I'm only gonna mention this one because it somewhat happened here. It didn't happen here, but it could be close. If we have somebody in a clerical position pull in and hit the building,
I believe you can have that person drug tested.
Even though they're not on the clock yet?
Well, yeah, if they're an employee and they hit the building coming to work, yeah.
Well, I mean, we had an employee at the building, he was drug tested, but it was an accident. And it was mandated that he be drug tested. But what I'm saying, if it's an hourly clerical position and that person happened to just pull in the same way and just accidentally hit the wrong pedal.
Well, that's reasonable suspicion that they hit the building. I mean, it was like where I came from. Red Hobson went to the local cafe. His cars pulled right up to the local cafe, and everybody had 3 on column. And he thought he had it in reverse, and he had it in second gear, and he looked back, and he hit that restaurant full speed ahead. I mean, something's wrong.
Right.
And that justifies an inquiry in 2018 as to whether or not somebody is impaired.
There might not be 10 people in this building that could drive a 3-speed on the column.
Someone might say, what's that?
But at the same time, once they're tested and they come up negative for drugs,
Then it's just a simple
it's
accident.
just a simple accident anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Right.
I think it depends on the position and it depends on the incident. You're talking about hitting a building.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it happens. All right. Any more comments? Item number 17, city attorney comments, city manager comments, commissioners' comments, and other board reports. David, you got a board report?
No, I have a comment.
All right, we'll go ahead.
Since Keith ain't here, I'll point
Wait a minute, I missed that one.
back myself here. I hate this going that way.
He's just making a comment, so you missed it.
Might be a little quicker. Wait till Keith hears that. Anybody else?
No.
I don't have any motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.
You gonna be in all? I'll put them all.
You like them, don't you, Bonnie? And
You go slow on that one, Bonnie. Huh?
Tim was, I'll think.
I got the gist of it. I'm gonna ask Holly to try to put that in y'all's mailbox.